World Update 11 is now available for Microsoft Flight Simulator. It covers all of Canada, and in this video I'd like to do the usual comparison. This time out though, things are going to be a little different as we've seen areas that unfortunately haven't been updated. Now please don't take this as a dig at the World Update. Of course it does contain all the usual great content. World updates for Microsoft Flight Simulator are absolutely fantastic. There's no taking away from that, despite what I'll show to the early points of this video. But we'll get to talking about all that good stuff further in. Now, what you're seeing here is some footage to the northern regions of Canada. Specifically, right here we're flying in Alberta National Park, right near Thor Peak. Now, Flight Simulator has come in for some criticism. In fact, it's been quite high on the bugs list for a long time now of rounded mountains. It's not something you'll see a lot of complaints about, probably because for the most part mountains in Europe as well as in Northern America tend to be perfectly fine. Here we're looking at the Canadian Rockies. Despite World Update 11 then bringing new digital elevation maps, it unfortunately hasn't improved these particular regions. Quite possibly because these areas are so far out the way that great data for them is either hard to get or doesn't exist. Something maybe for the future then. At any rate, this isn't a dig at the update as I said, but it's well worth pointing out what has been fixed and what hasn't. There is a load of great stuff though. Here we are at Toronto. You can see that the ground details have certainly been improved, as has some of the photogrammetry. Although CN Tower now looks worse for some reason. Not sure if that is a bug or whether it's intended. Hopefully if it is an issue it's going to get fixed soon. And just so you're aware, I do have the latest update installed and all correct up to date. I also pre-cached this particular region. Now looking to the right of the screen, you'll also notice some nice improvements there. Right here you can see that the skyline has been improved with bringing in a bunch of new buildings. The photogrammetry on the left doesn't include them, whilst on the right it certainly does. Moving on to Ontario, here near Niagara Falls. You can see that the only major difference here is Skylon Tower over in the distance there. But one other nice addition is the lighting seems to be improved. In the before colours here, the ground seems somewhat muted. In the after, it seems quite a bit more vibrant and perhaps a bit more realistic. Also, keep in mind that between the two recordings, I tried to keep the lighting as close as possible, setting the same time of day, the same day of the year, as well as the same weather conditions. I've slowed the footage down a little bit here so the frame rate may look a little bit off, but there again, down on the bottom left side of the images, you can see a Skylon Tower. Meanwhile, over in Quebec, we can see Chateau Frontenac sitting there on the hills. Interestingly, here we see little to no difference in coloration. The main difference, of course, is the new point of interest of Chateau Frontenac itself. In this particular case, and this is one of the reasons I did want to show this specific area, is the photogrammetry version of the chateau seemed to be very, very good to begin with. Of course, the new point of interest is much better, but even still, sometimes it really amazes me what the photogrammetry can achieve, and here you can see the two side by side. Now, another thing I wanted to do, moving away from comparisons here, is to have a brief look at NVIDIA DLSS support as we got in the previous sim update. The reason I want to revisit this is, as I said in a previous video, there is a new Game Ready driver. The Game Ready driver has a specific fix in it for Microsoft Flight Simulator, so I wanted to do two comparison tests. On the left, we've got the DLSS setting on the previous driver, and on the right, we've got the brand new driver. Now it's not a major difference here, but you can see there is a bit of performance improvement. This is apparent on both the high-end settings as well as the ultra settings. So I'd definitely recommend installing the latest NVIDIA drivers if you have an NVIDIA graphics card. Now there is another issue I know some people had, and that is with the glass cockpits being blurry. I've taken a look at this, and you can see some comparisons between the various DLSS settings right here. The driver was aimed at fixing the particular issue of blurry glass cockpits, and it appears, at least to me, that the issue has been fixed. at least on this end, at least on my PC. If you've still got issues with it though, do let me know in the comment section below, because I'd love to know if this is still an issue for some people. So that pretty much brings us to the end of this video. One thing I would like some feedback on is, what did you think of the comparison in this video? I've gone slightly different at this occasion. Whereas usually I'll do some photogrammetry comparisons, this time it was a little less of that. So do let me know if you prefer the normal type of comparison, or whether you prefer this type of comparison, or perhaps in future you'd like to see a good mix of both. Either way, do let me know in the comment section below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.